So, when did counseling stop being about problem solving? Well, not anymore. Introducing solution-focused counseling with the Unlicensed Counselor. And now, here's your host, Steve Moak.
Well, hello and welcome to another episode of The Unlicensed Counselor. My name is Steve Moak. I am the Unlicensed Counselor, and as always, so grateful to be here on another beautiful, sunny Scottsdale, Arizona day. We're getting ready to head into a long weekend as well, too. Hope everybody out there really takes some time and enjoys it. Just a fun time of year. So, hey, got an interesting little topic on my mind that I wanted to share with your ears. So, if you're like me, you kind of interact with a lot of people out there in the world, and one of the things that kind of, let's call it a peeve, let's kind of, frost my hide, whatever thing you want to say is, I notice a lot of people don't do what they say they're going to do, right? So it's just, I've had this pop up repeatedly kind of in my world, in my sphere. It's not the end of the world type of thing, but I've noticed it consistently, and it seems to be a certain type of people who do this. They always kind of have an excuse as to why. So I just wanted to talk about kind of the importance of, why I feel it's so important to do the things that you say you're going to do. Maybe here are some practical ways to kind of build towards that if you're maybe not good at it right now. I can kind of show you and kind of explain some ways. And then also discuss a little bit about what happens if you don't do the things that you say you're going to do as well. It's just little stuff like that. Call it, integrity, call it character. There's a lot of different ways to describe it. But again, at the Unlicensed Counselor, what I like to do at least is really kind of break this down into bite-sized little pieces. And I just think, calling it what it is doing what you say you're going to do. So had it pop up on my brain, wanted to share it out to your ears, and, let's see what you think about it. But before we do that, I want to say a big thank you to our continued sponsors. Show would not be possible without these kind folks continuing to support us. Obviously, our friends at ShareTech, they are the industry leader in at-home drug and alcohol screening. Go to betterdrugtest.com if you need an at-home drug or alcohol test. ShareTech is the company that I trust to use for my loved ones because it is the most accurate, it is the most comprehensive, and they have built-in ways that they can prevent cheating and tampering of that sample as well, too. Go to betterdrugtest.com, and a big thank you to those folks for continuing to support our show. And I also want to say a big thank you to, my friends over at the nonprofit side of the work that I do at the StopStartsHere.org. Actually, the timing is great. We're rolling into Memorial Weekend. We just saw some statistics that, national overdose deaths are down over the last year. Shocker, we've been doing our nonprofit work for about a year. Coincidence? I think not. But before we go patting ourselves on the back, which I've seen a lot of folks in the behavioral health industry do, is like, hey, we went down 2%, 3%. Okay, that still means there's 100,000+ people that died from drug overdoses last. So let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. But give us a follow at Hard Stop Official. Go to the StopStartsHere.org. We're getting ready to release some new content. And one of the things that we're publishing right now is a document that I helped create called the Parents Prevention Playbook. Take a look at that. Share it out to your friends. It's really kind of step-by-step ways to talk to your kid about drug prevention. Because, again, the only way that I know to prevent full-on drug addiction is to never start, right? So go to the StopStartsHere.org. And again, hey, shameless plug for myself too. Go to the Unlicensed Counselor. Share this podcast episode or any of the episodes. I really try and kind of create these episodes in a, not a timeless way, but that you can kind of drop in and listen to them on these topics or subjects, no matter what's going on. So if you find one that's relevant, just share it out to your friend. Give us a follow on the social media channels. And again, continuing to push out more content as well, too. And if you ever have a question or comment, want to engage with me or push back or don't like what I have to say, you can always email me to steve@theunlicensedcounselor.com. I respond to all my emails myself. So, okay, good stuff. So, again, I engage with young people, old people, sports, athletics, business, and all these different ways. And one of the things that really kind of irritates me is if you tell me you're going to do something and then you don't do it. Like, I have no problem if you tell me, no, I can't do that. That's a fair boundary. I respect you. I have no issue with that. But if you say that you're going to and then leave me hanging for whatever reason, Now I kind of have an issue, and now I start to look at you a little bit differently as well, too. And I'm not sure if that really resonates with people, that when you don't do that, and these could be small things, right? You're going to say you meet me somewhere and you don't show up, or you're going to jump into a game or a class or something like that and you don't show up. It's not that I'm mad at you or anything. It's almost like a sense of disappointment. It's like, oh, I had, maybe a little higher expectations, or I viewed you in a way that wasn't exactly, I didn't think you were the type of person that would flake on something like that. So let me just run through kind of a list of things that I put together over the last week that I think are really around the importance of doing what you say you're going to do. And the number one reason is, of why you should do this is because it builds trust, right? So consistently following through on your commitments fosters trust in personal and professional relationships. Very simple and straightforward. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I get on this podcast and people compliment me and things, and I'm like, I think I just say common sense things here. I don't think I'm not trying to be some brilliant or visionary on some of these topics, but it's like some of this stuff is just common sense. But evidently it needs to be said out into the world, because sometimes these things just don't land with people, or maybe they just get caught up. I'll give people some grace, and they just aren't thinking about this. But it just builds trust by doing what you say you're going to do, right? Again, personally and professionally as well, too. Think of this in a work context as well. Number two I had was kind of enhances credibility, right? So when people can rely on you to do what you say, your credibility increases, right? So this makes you a trusted source of information and action. I want to be viewed as a credible person. I think that's really important as a podcaster, as a businessman, as a dad, as a working professional. I want to be viewed with credibility. And you don't get credibility just out of the gate. I think it's something that you kind of earn in small increments over time of repeatedly, consistently doing the things that you say you're going to do. I think that is how you build and kind of create that credibility out in the world. And to dovetail into that, it establishes accountability as well, too, right? So sticking to your word shows that you take responsibility for your actions and commitments, right? Again, another earth-shattering principle of just doing what you say you're going to do establishes you as an accountable person and as a responsible person as well, too. And I think these are just simple things that I wish more people would kind of resonate with. Oftentimes, I feel like there's a disconnect from people who think that they do this stuff, but their actions aren't kind of matching their words. So I think a lot of people think that they have this credibility. They think that they're very responsible, but the little things that you do along the way that aren't matching up because you're late, you don't show up, you cancel your plans at the last minute, whatever that is, that chips away at your credibility. And that also just starts to shape my view of you as a person as well, too. Now, the other thing this can do is it can strengthen your relationships as well. So dependability is a key component of a strong and healthy relationship. Again, that's both professionally and personally as well, too. So if you're doing what you say you're going to do, if you're telling your wife that you're going to be there, you're telling your kids that you're going to be there at the game, that's going to show that you care. That's going to strengthen those bonds. Conversely, if you're saying that and you're not showing up or you're late, what I've noticed that even in my daughter, they pick up on these things even at a young age. Like if you're not doing what you say you're going to do, or hey, I'm going to be there in 5 minutes, and 35 minutes rolls by and you're just rolling in, like it's as simple as little kids can notice this stuff, right? They notice it and quickly. Hey, why is mommy always late, or mommy always on the phone, or something like that? So I'm not trying to pick on anybody in particular, but it's like, I have noticed these things. And again, if through the eyes of a 4-year-old can pick this up, imagine what adults can feel and sense and pick up as well, too. So, another word that ends in Y that this strengthens of doing what you say you're going to do is integrity, right? I think oftentimes doing what you say you're going to do is really what integrity is. Now, the only reason I didn't kind of come out and call this episode integrity, I feel like that gets thrown around a lot on social media and kind of, counseling circles and things like that. But keeping your promise, doing what you say you're going to do, reflects your integrity and kind of that ethical moral compass that you have as well, too. And I think a lot of that is lacking out there in the world. But again, I think a lot of people think that they have that. And they do act this way. But the little things that you do or that you shrug off or that you don't take seriously, or maybe you do something different when someone's not looking or they won't know that it was you or this, like that's the stuff that kind of builds that solid foundation of character, integrity, responsibility, right? All of these things that I think most of us would like to be known for, or at least try to strive to. This also kind of nicely dovetails into, boosting your self-confidence as well, too. So achieving what you set out to do reinforces the beliefs in your abilities, right? If you know that you're that kind of person, like you just kind of self-fulfilling prophecy, you can keep acting that way, you keep showing up, you keep doing the things that you're supposed to do, and that just kind of, again, builds that character, builds that foundation, and it really kind of proves to yourself, like, this is who I am. And I do think other people pick up on that as well, too. So I think it's a really important skill, trait, all those things to practice so that you really kind of have that as a core tenet of kind of who you are as a person. Now, here's another thought that I had around this topic, around creating opportunities as well, too. So people are more likely to kind of come across or get offered opportunities to those that you can count on. I'm player, coach, GM for my City of Scottsdale basketball team, and I don't know if I ever reported back. We came in second place in my league last year. Yeah, I see you back there. Thanks. Second place, a.k.a. first loser. I always tell that to my daughter. I'm like, did you win? I said, no, we came in second. It's frustrating, but that happens. But back to the creates opportunities. One of the things, there are a lot of good basketball players. I play in leagues, I play in pickup games, I see a lot of good players. And look, I'm the oldest guy in the league. I just turned 45 this week, by the way. Yeah, happy birthday to me. Thank you. Getting up there in the world. Had a very nice birthday and ate literally a boat of sushi, I think, or at least a tray full or a walk the plank full. It was great. But I could invite a lot of different guys onto this team. But one of the things that I look for, I'm not trying to overcomplicate this, but I look for people that I can rely on. Do they show up on time? Are they going to be a good teammate? Or they talk a lot of trash? Are they kind of a pain? Are they loud? Are they open to feedback? Like all these types of things, because again, there's a lot of good basketball players that I could go and pull onto my team, but the guys that I intentionally kind of recruit are, kind of the character type of guys and good players as well too. But by knowing that they're going to show up when they say they're going to make this team a commitment, doing what they say they're going to do, those are the people that I look for. So again, if you are of that type of person, you may not even know it, but people could be out there kind of noticing that, picking up on that, and may extend more opportunities your way because you behave in that manner, right? Here's another little nugget that I was thinking of too. This can actually improve your time management as well too. And I'm big on time management. I'm an early guy. Like I always like to be at things early. On time for me is like 5-10 minutes early. And that's just the way I'm wired. I don't know why or how. It's just always been that way. I never understand the late thing. It really bugs me. But so following through on commitments requires good planning and time management skills as well too. And I noticed that, in previous relationships where it was like, come on, like we're late all the time. It's consistent, and it's like, well, you get mad at me for this. I'm like, no, I didn't get mad at you the first 100 times. The 500th time, yes, I'm frustrated because we've had this conversation a million times. And now if I'm raising my voice a little bit like that, that's where that stuff kind of comes from. So I do think doing what you say you're going to do can really help be better with the time management, because you got to be a little more accountable to yourself and to the others to make sure that you're getting there and doing those types of things and not being late for your kids' practice or games or parent-teacher conference and things like that. And as a single dad too, dealing with my ex, it's like sometimes I'll show up to things. It's a birthday party or something, and they're, my daughter and ex are not there, so I'm like, a dude at a kid's birthday party is not a good look. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, she's. I'm here with this one she's coming. Just trust me, all right? So it's just, little things like that you notice along the way. But, okay, last but not least, on the important things of doing what you say you're going to do, is that this facilitates teamwork as well, too. right? So in a team setting, the reliability ensures smoother collaboration and that collective success. So back to the basketball team kind of analogy that I'm talking about. This is really something that I'm looking for, because I know it's a rec league and we play for fun, but you end up spending a lot of time with these guys, and I don't want to be having to micromanage, or somebody's canceling the day of or the hour before, and I've been on other teams where that's the case. So I make it very clear when I'm inviting someone to join our team of like, hey, here's kind of the, what I expect. If they can't work from that, that's cool. I got no problem, but maybe this just isn't a fit for you. And you know what? I've had a lot of fun with the people that have played. We came in second place in the league. That happens. I mean, we went 9-1. I promise I'm over this, even though it doesn't sound like it at the moment. But, just having those people that I can count on, that I trust, that aren't going to flake on me is made it, the whole experience, that much more enjoyable, right? So, okay, that was kind of the importance, why it's important to do the things you say you're going to do. Now, let's talk a little bit about how exactly you go about doing that. So some people, I find that this comes kind of naturally. Maybe it's parenting, maybe it's education, maybe it's family values, maybe it's in their wiring. I don't exactly know. But other people I know maybe struggle with this a little bit, but would like to improve upon this. And I would think before I even go into my list, the number one thing is recognizing that you may not be great at it, right? And you don't have to go to confessional or anything like that. You can just say to yourself, okay, I feel like I could do a little bit better on and kind of doing the things that I say I'm going to do. And again, start small. I know everybody goes to the big things. I'm going to be there for that wedding or that family reunion. I'm going to be like, that's all great, and you should do all that stuff, right? But let's maybe start small by, if you make a commitment to whatever your goals are, going to that class or meeting your friend for coffee and not rescheduling and things like that. Let's start with some of that small stuff. But again, it also starts with acknowledging that I might not be the best at this. So the first thing is, on how to get better at doing what you say you're going to do is let's set some realistic goals around this, right? Ensure that your commitments are achievable and you're kind of within your capabilities. So things that you can actually pull off and accomplish as well too. Let's not shoot the moon on some of this stuff. Let's practice on the little stuff and kind of build up that credibility. Show yourself that you're capable of doing this, right? Keep it simple. And I think along those lines is make sure you're prioritizing some of the tasks around this as well too, Focus on the important tasks, and that's going to help you manage your time more effectively as well too. I think that's going to be another one of those baby steps of kind of how to get going in this direction as well. Another little nugget that you may not think about is communicating clearly. So be explicit about what you intend to do and by when. Whew, this one really hits home with me. I feel like I'm picking on the X a little bit today. I am, but it is what it is, right? I can't get a firm commitment on, hey, you know what? I just can't get a time out of someone. Yeah, I think I can do that, or I'll try and do that. The birthday party starts at 4. What time can I expect you to be there, or what's going on? And it is super frustrating when you can't get a firm commitment out of somebody, right? And so making sure that you're communicating clearly and being explicit. I like that word explicit. I put that word in here specifically to say, I'm going to be here by 4. I'll have the gift ready and we'll be on time, or whatever the situation calls for, right? Communicate clearly and be explicit about what you intend to do and by when. All right, now, here's another little one. You could take this or leave it, but you can track your progress, right? Kind of keep a running tab in your mind of your commitments and, did I do that? Did I follow through what I say I'm going to do, or did I miss that one, right? I'm not saying you got to sit in here and kind of write every little single thing down and track all those, but I would say keep a mental kind of notepad or Rolodex. People don't even probably know what a Rolodex is anymore. But, just to keep that running list in your head of like, I'm doing pretty good, or I'm slipping and probably need to improve on this a little bit more. And be consistent. Being consistent and practicing these things or developing those habits on those small commitments will help build kind of that character, that integrity, that reliability over time, right? So just keep being consistent on all these little things. And I think you're going to be able to look back over time and go, wow, okay, I used to be kind of that person who was a little flaky and always late and didn't always make it to the things I said I was going to. And now, like, I'm kind of a rock, and good for you, but start small, be consistent, right? And by the way, if you find that you're still struggling with this, maybe seek a little support. Maybe it's your wife, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is. Be like, hey, maybe it's your phone. You could set some reminders and things like that in, or multiple reminders if that's what it takes to kind of get you to do what you say you're going to do. Find a way to seek some support to kind of give you a little help, some little bumpers along the way that maybe we can keep you moving in that direction, right? Here's an important one that I kind of thought of as well too, is learn to say no, right? Learn to say no. No is completely okay. I am 100% with okay. I am not okay with yes and flake. Not okay with yes and flake. Super frustrating, throws off plans. Now I'm pissed and escalating and, all that type of stuff. Overcommitting is a problem. So understand your limits, right? Say no. Decline. It's totally okay. If you can't make it to something, communicate that out and then don't feel bad about it. It's okay to say no. You don't have to be at every event. You don't have to be at every party. You don't have to go to every single school function. You don't have to. By the way, I'm this end of the school year. I'm seeing some of these end of the school year requirements. It's so stupid. I mean, what are these teachers and they got to show up 3 times in one day, spread out over the course of the day to see a 3-hour graduation ceremony, to see your kid go into kindergarten. It's just. I get it. Like, I have a little one too. I'm very proud of her. I want her to do all that. But let's be realistic, people. I mean, come on. So I'm good at saying no. I've had plenty of practice in saying no. Sorry. And you know what? I'll be there for one of the 3 things that you have planned for that day. Ay. That's just a whole other show just on that topic. Now, I say this, say no, but be flexible. Be able to adjust when you need to as well too. So things change, unforeseen things happen, circumstances arise, right? Let's just make sure that we're communicating clearly kind of what's going on and adjust as necessary. So you can say no, but let's keep some flexibility while we're doing this as well too. And then as you're doing all this, make sure you're taking a little time to reflect and improve. After you completed a task or didn't complete a task, just add it to that mental note of like, hey, when I set 2 alarms, that really helped me kind of get there and made sure that I was doing the thing that I said I was going to do or got that assignment in on time or whatever the case calls for, right? So, some interesting thoughts around this as well, too. Now, let me talk a little bit about what happens if you don't, right? What happens if you don't? Consequences of not doing what you say you're going to do, right? I don't like that my brain automatically starts to judge people when you don't, but you earn that, right? You earn that, not me. So don't blame me for now viewing you in a different light. And let me run through some of the consequences of when you tell me you're going to do something, then you don't do it. I'm not going to necessarily tell you all these things, but here's a lot of what's going on in my mind, right? So loss of trust, number 1. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, right? Repeatedly failing to follow through erodes that trust in personal and professional relationships. Pretty cut and dry right there. And I don't know why, if people don't value trust in things and having that anymore, because I see so many people flake. I've had people flake on dates. I had a big gala the other night that literally I got canceled on the night before, and I'm like what? Like, I don't care that you can't go. Like, just tell me on Monday, not on Thursday night and the thing's Friday. It's just like, I don't know. People don't have those values. They don't have that kind of integrity. It's just. But now I know who you are as a person, and you lack character, right? And now I can cut you loose and move on and never have to think about you again, and maybe help save me some time and effort down the road. That I don't have to waste any more time with you, right? Another consequence is that damages your reputation as well too, right? A pattern of unreliability can damage your reputation, making it harder to gain opportunities. And people aren't necessarily going to tell this to your face. You're just going to maybe get passed by, and you're going to go, well, how come I thought I was it? No, you didn't do these other 4 things. Why am I going to now present you with this 5th one when you've shown yourself to be not trustworthy, not reliable, don't have accountability, those types of things? And again, that's a tough one because you may not even know, and usually that's not going to be said directly to your face, so you're just going to be missing things because of the way that it is. Now, maybe you'll get lucky and somebody will point that out to you, maybe in a work setting or a close friend or something like that, right? But, that decreased credibility, people can't believe you. They can't rely on you. If you don't keep your promise, right? Seems like a lot of our politicians these days, right? I mean, let's call it what it is. Both sides here, folks. I'm not just picking a side here. I mean, I do have a side, but in terms of credibility, we both do this. One side certainly seems a little worse than the other these days. But look, I mean, you can't tell me all these things and then you get proved wrong every single step of the way and then turn around and expect me to believe you on the next thing, right? I mean, that's BS, right? So what it's also going to do is weaken your relationships. So unreliability can strain and even break these relationships, right? And I'll just say this, it was certainly a contributing factor in some of my past relationships as well too. I mean, if you just can't believe someone, and I personally think, one of the worst things that you could be called is unreliable, right? I mean, you can call me any name that you want, but if you call me unreliable, like that kind of hurts a little bit, because one of the things I pride myself on is I'm going to be there for you if you need something, right? You could count on me. I may not be perfect in a lot of ways, but I can be reliable. If I get a call and you need me there and you need me at this time and I got to do this, that, and the other, and I say I'm going to do it, boom, I'm going to be there, right? And it blows my mind to people who don't think that way. Like, it's really weird to me that people even operate like that. And it seems more the norm. I see more of the exception. Not that, like, I'm so great or something like that, but I feel like I'm more of the exception, or that mentality is more the exception than kind of like, hey, if I say I'm going to do it, I'm there. And you just write it in stone kind of thing, right? So again, this reduced opportunities, kind of, ties into the damaged reputation, the loss of trust. You're just not going to get offered things if you're difficult. You don't do what you say you're going to do. You say you were going to be there for the thing, and you're not there. I mean, it's pretty plain, straightforward, and simple. I mean, that's the way people operate. What I think, one of the things you may not think about when it comes to this too is kind of that lowered self-esteem as well too. So failing to kind of meet these commitments can negatively impact your own self-esteem, right? And then it's that self-fulfilling kind of prophecy, right? It's like you get into that spiral and you're not doing what you say you're going to do, and then you beat yourself up, and then another thing happens, and then you screw that up or miss that or don't follow through, and now you're kind of in this shame spiral, all because of yourself. The good news is you can get out of that, but it's going to take some time to then regain some of that trust and credibility that you probably lost from kind of spinning out in that time. And what that also is going to do in terms of a consequence is increase stress in your life as well, right? I mean, how hard is it now you missed that opportunity, you didn't do what you say you were going to do, and now you're feeling bad about it. Now you're beating yourself up. Now you've got lower self-esteem. Now you've got stress because maybe you're not going to get invited to the next thing, which then goes into negative feedback, right? You're probably going to start getting some feedback from other people that's critical, that you don't really want to hear. And candidly, I would say you're probably lucky if you get the negative feedback, because then it's at least brought to your attention and you have the possibility to potentially be able to change. Whereas the other people are just going to write you off and move on. And you're gone. You're never going to hear from them again and go, why? How come I never hear from them again? Or how come I never get offered this, that, or the other thing? There's a reason, right? There's a reason. And again, that can be in a professional setting as well too, not just in a personal setting as well too. If you're just not doing what you say in a work environment, you're going to get these poor performance reviews, and it can even lead to a job loss, right? So, look, like I started the show and saying, a lot of this stuff isn't rocket science, and sometimes I get on to this podcast and I'm like, I think I just state common sense stuff, but for some reason, common sense is kind of lacking in this world a little bit more today. And that's why, as the unlicensed counselor, I just want to kind of cut through the noise and get back to just simple, bite-sized things that you can hear this podcast, share it with somebody, listen to it, and start putting things in on the topics that I'm talking about. And I think doing what you say you're going to do is a really important one, right? I mean, almost all the topics I talk about are really important, but the character, the credibility, the integrity that comes along with just kind of who you are as a person is really important. And I hope you take a little bit of time today and kind of, think about some of these things and really be honest with yourself. But am I a person who does what they say they're going to do? I know it's easy to think that about each other or about ourselves, but am I really that type of person when no one else is looking, when it's just me? Am I doing and following through with the things I'm going to say? And not just the things that you maybe say externally, like things that you kind of say to yourself that you should be doing or want to do, and are you doing them or not? So, okay, good stuff. I think we covered that topic pretty darn thoroughly. Look, if you think you or a friend or loved one could benefit from this episode, please go ahead and share it. I appreciate the continued support and all the downloads. It's really cool to see. And again, give us a follow at the Unlicensed Counselor as well, too. But my name is Steve Moak. Until next time, thank you very much.